What's going on, guys? It's Sapphire, no life Pokemon player, and welcome to my journey of cannot beat Pokemon World using only normal type moves. I've tried something similar before, also some with only poison type moves, link to my playlist of challenges is in the description, but this time we are taking on Hoenn to follow in the footsteps of my dad of becoming a normal type specialist. So obviously the main rule of this challenge is that I can only use normal type moves in battle. I am also not allowing myself to use items in battle, except Pokeballs. Third, I am not using any legendary Pokemon, and last, no glitches or exploits are allowed. To avoid this video will be too long, I most times won't be going over my Pokemon learning any new moves by level up, so I might suddenly have some new moves in battle. But I will mention any TMs or HMs that I obtain and use. I predict that the biggest obstacles in this challenge will be Roxanne, Brawly and Tantalizer, but with good enough strategies and a little bit of grinding this challenge should be possible, so let's just jump right into it. I started by choosing Torchic as my starter since all normal moves are physical in this game and Blaziken has the highest attack stat of the home starters. Unfortunately it had a modest nature so plus special attack and minus physical attack. Even with a bad nature I managed to beat May first try because we were one level higher. After that I got the Pokédex from Professor Birch and some Pokeballs from May, so I went to Route 103 to catch a Zigzagoon. It was jolly, plus speed and minus special attack, and it had a pickup, so that was a great addition to the team. After helping Wally catch his first Pokemon, I went to Route 104 to catch a Pokemon for the second time, a Tailo this time. It was jolly as well and had Guts, an amazing ability. Next up I got yet another Pokemon since there are so many normal types in the early game, Whismur. Impish nature boosts defense and lower special attacks, so that's good, and Soundproof is a handy move to stop moves like Growl. With my Pokemon around level 11 I took a shot at the Rock Gym and it went terrible. I plan to use Focus Energy to crit through potential defense boosts from harden or lower their defense before they can boost it, but both their strategy failed and because of my potion, I didn't even manage to knock out Roxanne's first Geodude. I decided to fill my team, so I first called a Skitty with a naughty nature, plus attack and minus special defense, I'll take it, and on the Steel Whip, Attract and Q-Charm, so that could work. I also called a Slackoff, or final member, which had a neutral nature, could be worse, and Yawn, which could be nice. While grinding on my team a bit, I actually found a full art shiny Poochyena, which was insane. It had a neutral nature as well, but the main thing here is Howl, giving it sweeping potential, so I replaced Torchic because of its bad nature, and it didn't gain the same type attack bonus with normal types either. After losing again with my team at level 12, I tried again on level 14 with Zigzagoon holding a King's Rock from pickup, which I later learned doesn't stack with Headbutt, and my other Pokemon holding Oran Berries. Skitty put in a lot of work against Geodude with Attract, Sing and Tail Whip, and besides a little field switch to Poochyena in an attempt to sweep, I took down both Geodude without too much trouble. Skitty unfortunately went down to a tackle from Nose, but I could still put it to sleep with Yawn from Slackoff. I then went into Zigzagoon to lower their attack with Growl, and I tried to lower its defense as well, but it kept spamming Harden, so that didn't work out, and in the end Zigzagoon went down to a crit. I then used Yawn and Scratch his Slackoff every other turn because of Truant, but when Nosepass got kinda low it ate its Oran Berry to heal up a bit, and after they ran out of tackle, they knocked out my Slackoff with a critical Rock Tomb. I only have Whismur and Taylor left, but luckily my third upper crit finally gave us a victory in our first badge. After the gym battle, I accepted the challenge from May for our second battle. Her Torkoal just used Curse over and over again, so with the help of a couple of flinches, it went down. Second and last was our Mudkip and it used Bite, but I decided to just sack my Tailo while getting some chip damage and then finish it with Upper from my Whismur, which then turned Howl. While I wasn't due for it, I grabbed the Silk Scarf, a held item that boosts the power of normal type moves. I also got the HM for Flash, and let's hope I will never have to resort to using that in battle. After delivering the letter to Steven, I got the experience share from Mr. Stone and then decided to just skip Brawly for now because we get destroyed by fighting types, so I just kept making as much progress as I could. We had our first encounter with the Team Aqua boss Archie in Slateport, but we didn't battle him, only a few weak runs, so I just moved on. Next up was another battle against May, and I easily took care of her Lombre with my Alpha Attract, Sing and Tail Whip combination on my Skitty. Her Marshtomp had other plans though, it KO'd every single one of my teams, so as you can guess, I lost. On the second attempt, after getting some levels on nearby trainers, Lombre again wasn't a problem and pushed yet under an Odor Sleuth because of the experience share. It's not that useful at the moment, but Odor Sleuth will be essential later in the run. This time I switched into Slackoff to deal with her Marshtomp, and it was interesting. For some reason, May just kept going for Bite while I put them to sleep with Yawn and tried to encore them into Bite, which failed pretty hard, so I eventually just switched to Zigzagoon on a turn that they would fall asleep and they were using Bite. I then used Steel Whip 4 times before my Zigzagoon died to a combination of Mudshot and Water Gun, and I sent out Slackoff again, and after 1 or 2 cuts, they went down. Last was Slugma, and Sting from Skitty missed and I broke through a track, so Skitty went down. Slugma pulled through again though, by putting it to sleep with Yawn and then finishing it with a couple cuts. While preparing for the fighting in Electric Gym by battling all available trainers, I had quite some evolutions. First, Poochyena into Mightyena at level 18, Slakoth into Vigoroth, also at level 18, Whismur into Lyra at level 20, and Zigzagoon into Linoon at level 20 as well. After that, I finally took on Brawly and I tried to be fancy by sweeping with Mightyena, but when it was a plus 3 attack because of Howl, Tackle missed, so it went down. I just went into Linoon and after clicking Headbutt a grand total 6 times, Brawly was defeated and the Knuckle Badge was ours. The Electric Gym was harder than I expected, so I granted everything 1 or 2 levels to evolve my Tailwind to Swallow. During that, I also somehow found a second shiny Poochyena. I don't know what's up with my shiny luck during this challenge, but I'm not using this one since it doesn't really help me here. It took a lot of thinking and resetting, but after a while I managed to beat Watson. His first 2 Pokemon, Voltorb and Electrike, died to 2 headbutts from Linoon, but could ruin runs by paralyzing me, but this run they both got flinched. Then Magneton came in and this thing is a tank. I managed to land 4 Tail Whips with my Linoon, partially because of my Cherry Berry healing paralysis and giving me an extra turn by doing that. After Linoon went down, I yawned the Magneton with Vigoroth while another Cherry Berry healed paralysis again, and I then switched to my Swallow, which was poisoned with the help of a Wild Oddish to prevent paralysis and get a Guts boost while the Magneton fell asleep. I used Focus Energy to have a higher chance of getting crits and then just spammed Quick Attack, putting him in Super Potion range multiple times, but Magneton didn't survive long enough to wake up in time. Last was Manectric and this thing destroyed. It 2-hit KO'd almost every mon on my team, so it was very tricky to deal with. I got some chip damage with Quick Attack, yawned it with Vigoroth, and then sent a Skitty to deal with it multiple times to get some chip damage with Double Slap. But unfortunately Citrus Berry brought him back to 3/4 of his health. I got some more chip with Mightyena, which actually survived 2 hits, but the second tackle missed, so it didn't matter. But after that my last Pokemon Loudred could finish it with 1 Uproar, getting us the Dynamo badge. Because of that badge, you could now use Rock Smash to get the HM for Strength, which I taught to most of my Pokemon, and then also the TM for Secret Power, which I taught to Swallow. Maxi wasn't a big problem. Although he managed to take down my Linoon with my Mightyena because Sand Attack made me his Headbutt, I easily knocked that and assured I was Strength from my way superior Mightyena. A camera went down to couple Strength from Vigoroth, even though he used multiple Super Potions. After my Skitty learned Charm at level 25, I used the Moonstone I picked up earlier to evolve it in a Delcatty, which can now also learn Strength, although I only found it out after the 5th gym and then forgot to teach it that. My battle against a Fire-type Junior, the Flannery, started perfectly. I set up with Mightyena against her Numel while she set up Sunny Day and missed takedown. I then OHKO'd her Slugma and the camera missed an overheat, so it went down after 2 turns. Torkoal proved to be a problem with the White Herb resetting its special attack after the first overheat, White Smoke preventing defense drops from Tail Whip, good natural bulk, Body Slams Paras, Attract and the Hyper Potion, but after throwing almost my entire team at it, my Loudred did a job with a final strength, so the Heat badge was ours. Next up was the ultimate battle, the battle between father and son to decide who is the best normal type Pokemon trainer. I pretty easily beat a Spinda with my Mightyena with a combo of Strength and Howl, but I then got rid of those attack boosts by switching into my Delcatty, which barely hung on to with a Saf slacking and then landed a Sing. While he was asleep, I lowered his attack and defense with Charm and Tail Whip and went back into Mightyena after the Delcatty went down. For some reason it just kept using counters, so I set up to plus 6 attack with Howl and then finish it with Strength on the turns that it wouldn't be able to use counter. His Vigoroth couldn't one-shot my Mightyena, so went down to a very strong Strength, but Linoon then took Mightyena out. I kinda misplayed with my Vigoroth, so went down to Linoon, but then sent on my Linoon, which outsped them and finished the battle with 2 Strength, proving that we are the better normal type trainer and rewarding us with the Balance badge. I then needed a weak Zigzagoon for Surf, but later found a high level Linoon, so I caught and used that instead. After dealing with Team Aqua, May wanted yet another battle, but I demolished her. Swallow ran through her first 2 Pokemon and got some damage on her Marshtomp, which got them finished off by my Linoon. Next up was a Flying type gym leader, Winona. Her Swablu was a surprisingly big problem for my Loudred because of a crit, but Linoon took care of it afterwards. The third secret power from Swallow managed to paralyze Tropius, and with the help of a Para, Solar Beam Charge turn and a crit, I beat a Banana Leaf Dino. After a couple turns of spamming Strength on my Vigoroth, her third Pokemon Pelipper went down as well. Skarmory took most of the battle to take down, but it was more annoying than hard. The main strat was putting it to sleep with either Sting or Yawn, then lowering its defense with Tail Whip, making Headbutt and Strength do more than 2 damage. It took some time and some sacrifice, but eventually Vigoroth finished it with a couple Strength. Last was our Dragon Dancing Altaria, but after 2 Dragon Dances it fell asleep because of Jan giving my Vigoroth the opportunity to knock it out with Strength, getting us the Feather Badge. I stopped by at the Sapphire Zone to catch my last Pokemon, Dodrio. Hasty Nature isn't bad unless Try Attack, a good physical normal type move in this game. After yet another easy fight against May, we had our second battle against Maxi, the leader of Team Magma. His Mariana took down my Delcatty, but after some chipped items from my Mariana, I managed to beat it with Secret Power from Swallow, which then chipped away a bit on camera before going down to Rock Slide. I knew went down to Earthquake without doing much, but it did put the Fire Camel in range for a Tri-Attack from Dodrio. My Mariana went down to Crow and the Vigoroth ran out of strength, but while the bat was asleep, I brought in my 3-headed bird and I did the job. As I expected, Tayloizer formed a tough gym leader duo. Zatu could OHKO most of my Pokemon and Claydol handled my Diana pretty well, so I had to grind a bit until I was at level 35 so I could try again. Claydol got put to sleep by Delcatty, and although it went down next turn, Zatu did so too after 2 critical slashes from Vigoroth, while Claydol was still taking a nap. Dodrio managed to paralyze Lunatone with Fire Attack, but Claydol woke up and did some good damage with Psychic. The Clay monster then got paralyzed too, but Vigoroth went down nonetheless, and so did Swallow immediately after switching in. After 2 attacks, Claydol went down, so now only the duo of Lunatone and Solrock was left. Solrock started charging with the Solar Beam and Lunatone took out Linoon, making it a 2 vs 2. Mariana took the Solar Beam and Dodrio barely hung on to a Psychic, after which Lunatone got paralyzed 3 times in a row. Solrock went down before fully charging for a second Solar Beam, and Lunatone eventually fell as well to a couple strength and dry attacks, rewarding us with the Mind Badge. Shortly after the gym battle, Vigoroth evolved to Slaking, which later taught Hyper Beam via TM because it has to recharge with True Round anyway, and it taught Swallow Facade to pair off with Guts. Next was our first battle against the Team Aqua leader Archie, who was a pushover, unlike the next big battle. 1, the Pseudopolis gym leader, so I had to grind a bit, and I might have found the shiny Wingull. Please don't ask me about my shiny lick. Nope, it's not for sale. After the grind, 1 wasn't too big of a problem. Lovedex got OHKO by Slaking, and after sacrificing Delcatty to lower Whiskey's attack and defense stats, I could take it down with Tri-Attack from Dodrio. Celio got one-shot by a Hyper Beam for Slaking too, but Crowder got some trouble. It knocked out my first Linoon with Crab Hammer, but then just either got flinched or used Stunned against my second Linoon that I had to bring to the gym for Surf, so a couple headbutts finished off Groudon. His last Pokemon was Kingdra, Facade for my Poison Swallow just came short of knockout, so it went down instead to an Ice Beam. After which Dodrio finished the battle with final Tri-Attack, getting to the 8th and final gym badge. So this is how the team was looking when I entered the Elite Four. Linoon with Headbutt, Growl, Tail Whip and Odor Sleuth, Mariana with Strength, Howl, Swag and Odor Sleuth, a Poison Swallow with Guts, Facade, Quick Attack, Focus Energy and Double Team, Delcatty with Sing, Double Slap, Tail Whip and Charm, Slacking with Hyper Beam, Yawn, Slack Off and Slash, and last Dodrio with Tri-Attack, Fury Attack, Growl and Rage. First up was Sydney, and after I took out his Mariana with my Linoon, he made a huge mistake of using Swagger against my Dodrio, so without hitting itself in confusion, it just went through the rest of the Dark-type Specialist team. Next was the Ghost-type Elite 4 member, Phoebe, but she caused less trouble than you might expect. The main strategy for this battle was use Odor Sleuth with Linoon so it can hit the Ghost types, switch it out, get the knockout, and then go back to Linoon to repeat the process. Her first Dusclops eventually went down because it used Curse when it was under 50%. The first Banette got one shot by a Hyper Beam from Slaking, and the second one went down to Fury Attack from the Dodrio because it just kept using Grudge. Her second Dusclops managed to take out my Linoon, but at this point that wasn't that big of a deal, since I could knock out the Ghost with 2 hits from Slaking, and I still had my Mariana left to use Odor Sleuth for her last Pokemon, giving my Swallow the opportunity to hit her Sableye and finish the battle. Glacier was third, and although I led a Flying type against her Ice types, Dodrio managed to grab a kill because Celio went for Hail and Body Slam, so my 3-headed bird got enough turns to do the job before Glalie knocked it out. It did put the Glalie in range for my other bird to KO it with one Facade. I then used my Sing Tail strategy to get some defense drops on her second Celio, but I quickly took out Delcatty with a Crit Blizzard. Luckily I already got enough defense drops to one-shot it with Hyper Beam. Her penultimate Pokemon was another Glalie, and Linoon got some chip damage before failing to an Ice Beam, putting the Ice Face thing in range of Facade from Swallow, and last was her Wall Brain. Slaking did a lot of damage, but then somehow got hit by an OHKO move, knocking it out cold, pun intended, but Swallow just came in for the third time this battle to finish Wallace with a Facade so we could move on to the last member. Drake led with his Shellgun and always used Protect first turn, so I just used Focus Energy to hopefully crit one-shot it with Swallow, which didn't happen, but he missed Rock Tomb, so it didn't matter. I went into Mariana to take the Intimidate from Salamence and confuse it, but because of a full restore this wasn't enough for my Slaking to finish it. When the settlement was low again, I went for Slash instead of Hyper Beam, and the dragon barely hung on and knocked us out instead. Altaria was next, and I tried my Delcatty strat, but it switched out after getting put to sleep, and because of a missed Sing, Kingdra finished my Delcatty without any problems. Linoone did some decent chip damage, but the water dragon type got up a Dragon Dance and Gyarados with Surf, so we were in a tough spot with only 2 Pokemon left for his 3. Luckily, Swallow still outspread and Facade made the numbers even again. With the help of some status conditions from Tri-Attack, Altaria wasn't that much of a problem, and last was Flygon. He made it a 1v1 by taking down Dodrio with Dragon Breath, but Swallow's quadruple power Facade was enough to take home the W. After taking on 8 gyms, 2 evil teams and 4 elite trainers, we could finally challenge the champion, Wallace. He started with Wader and Linoone took it down to 20% of its health with some flinches, putting it in range for my Dodrio to knock it out. Tentacruel's Ice Beam did a lot of damage to us, but our second Tri-Attack was a critical hit, so we KO'd it before it could KO us. My Lolek is normally a very annoying tank with Recover, but after getting some chip damage with Dodrio, I could finish it with 1 Hyper Beam from Slaking, avoiding any potential stalling. Ludicolo was next and he used his only turn to go for a double team, but Sweater landed the second Facade either way, so there were only 2 more Pokemon to go. Second to last was Whismur, and although I got some defense drops with Delcatty, we went down to Sing missing multiple times in a row, but because of those drops, Slaking could then easily revenge kill with another Hyper Beam. The final Pokemon of the league was Gyarados, which intimidated my Swallow, but I landed a critical Facade ignoring the attack drop and making us the new Hoenn champion. Although the challenge is technically over, now we have entered the Hall of Fame, some of you might know that there is still one final battle to do. Similar to the battle against Red in the Johto games, in our world you can do a 6-on-6 battle against the former champion, Steven Stone. He has a high level of mainly rock and steel types, so this is sure to be a challenge. He led with Skarmory, which likes to set off spikes and use Toxic, so he started with Delcatty to put him to sleep before he could do that. I then lowered his attack and defense with Charm and Tail Whip, healed back any damage from Steel Wing or Aerial Ace with my newly obtained leftovers, and prevented Toxic by using Safeguards, which I taught to my Delcatty by TM. After a lot of attempts, Skarmory was asleep and at -6 defense, Delcatty full HP and not Toxic, and there were no layers of spikes, so I went to my Burnt Sweater which almost OK'd Skarmory with a boosted Facade. I used the Focus Energy for the next Pokemon while Steven used a Full Restore, but I didn't get a critical hit, so he still managed to get a 1 layer of spikes before going down, and I didn't crit his Claydol either, so Swallow went down to an Ancient Power, after which Slaking finished the Claydol. Next was Aggron, so I went back to Delcatty to do the same thing I did to Skarmory. Put it to sleep with Sing, lowered its attack and defense with Charm and Tail Whip, and this time used Safeguard to prevent paralysis from Thunder. Sometime later, Aggron was asleep and at -5 defense, while Delcatty was at almost full HP but only had 3 Sings left, and I decided it was a good time to go into Slaking. After waking up, Aggron landed 1 Thunder but didn't get another chance because Slaking's second Hyper Beam crit and killed. Cordelia was 4th and I again went into Delcatty because I need those defense drops so my other Pokemon do more than 2 damage to these rock and steel types. I got 2 defense drops and then sacked the Tentacool that I had for Waterfall, which is needed to get here, limiting me to 5 Pokemon, and then got a free switch to Slaking and the crit Hyper Beam to cut Cordelia. His penultimate Pokemon was Armaldo and I lowered its attack with Charm from Delcatty, and then went into Dodrio which likely paralyzed it with Tri-Attack before fading to an Ancient Power. I instructed Linoone to use Battery Drum, which he learned during the grind for this battle. Armaldo got paralyzed twice in a row, and after Steven used a Full Restore, Linoone 2-shot it with another new move, Return. The last Pokemon of the Let's Play was Metagross, and he missed a Meteor Mash. Linoone took it down to a quarter of its health, and after Linoone went down, Slaking came in, and with another crit Hyper Beam, it finished the battle, and with that, the challenge. So to answer the question of can I beat Pokemon Emerald using only normal type moves, yes I can. I had a blast doing this challenge, mainly because although it was difficult, there weren't any huge grinds except for Steven, and I got to use some Pokemon I would never use otherwise, like Slaking and Delcatty. If you also enjoyed this challenge, you will probably like some of my other challenges too, like Ultra Sun with only poison type moves. Link to the playlist is in the description. Next month I will be attempting to beat Pokemon Heart Gold with only 1/3 week, so stay tuned for that. If you have any suggestions for other challenges I could do, let me know in the comments down below. I hope you enjoyed this video, I'll see you next time, and of course, stay alive.